You can see the conundrum I find myself in, which is a state like a country like the UK is, in your words, gone because it didn't compete. It didn't allow people to be highly entrepreneurial. It didn't empower entrepreneurialism, innovation, ingenuity. In some way, it stood in their way. In some way. Now that could be incentives, it could be culture, it could be whatever.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this.
The US didn't, so they have a economy which is arguably more productive and future-proofed than ours. By way of that, they are also more advanced in artificial intelligence, and we are gone. So the remedy for a country like us would be therefore
to compete.
Let the reins off, let entrepreneur ingenuity, but then we're saying that's dangerous.
And your conundrum in that is that you're assuming that entrepreneurship by definition is malicious.
No, I'm just saying that there's a bit of a paradox. Like, you're damned if you don't, you're damned if you do.
But you're not damned if you build things for the people, not for the capitalist. This is an ideological debate.
I pray and hope that is plausible, but I'm worried that in a competitive market, whoever's optimizing for, I don't know, you could name it, retention. If we built two AIs, right, I'm going to call them the Mogul.ai and I'm going to call the other one Evil AI. The Evil AI,
okay, that's
it's
good.
Programmed to retain you. It's sycophantic. It says what you need to hear. It's super smart. And because of that, even though it's not trading in your best interests, it's retaining you more. You're using it more often. It's programmed for that, kind of like the social networks are. They're all just trying to like dopamine your brain into oblivion. Then there's the Mo AI. It tells you to log off, you've had enough. It thinks about your well-being. Because it's less retentive and less engaging, theoretically, it might be less successful as a commercial product. Think about social networks. The ones that are least retentive, the ones that actually won't destroy your brain with dopamine, the ones that remove the retweet button, the ones that don't have slot machine-like videos, they don't survive.
I share this with you, and my point of view is that to summarize your challenge here, you're basically saying that it's easier to become successful if you don't follow ethical rules.
I'm asking the question, if you build an AI that is just purely focused on ethical, would it be as engaging and have the same usage as one built with the reins off?
No.
It won't.
Yeah, but that's the problem humanity needs to solve if we were to survive. Example, I worked in a company called Google that basically at a point in time decided that ads will be effective. Okay?
Yeah.
The ad industry prior to Google was 50% of your ad budget doesn't work. We just don't know which 50%. Remember that?
Yeah.
Right. And Google came in and struggled from 1998 until 2004 when they started to turn plausible revenues as a result of saying, we're going to run a Dutch auction and we're going to give you pay-per-click and we're going to show you results for your ads. Okay? They found a way for ethics to actually get your money to be effective rather than just take your money and say 50% doesn't work. They found a way to make that their success criteria. There must be a way for us. I don't know what it is. If I knew, I would be building it instead of sitting with you, right? But there must be a way for us to marry the success of humanity with the success of the entrepreneur, right? And that way is not found in the old ways of doing things.
I've got an idea. Maybe, Claude 4.8 came out yesterday, which is one of the big AI models, the new one. And when they release the models, they show these like graphs of the benchmarks. What they mean by this is what it's capable of. They show how it performed in maths, in science, in writing, reasoning, etc. Yeah. It is all marginal at this point. But my idea is, could there be an ethical benchmark that all these models have to pass before these large companies can legally deploy them? And I was thinking about, like, again, every idea has unintended consequences, which I haven't thought through. But would it be very interesting that when they release these models, they also release the ethical benchmarks? We tried to get it to X, we tried to get it to Y, we tried to get it to Z, and here's how it performed against the ethical benchmarks. That gives some kind of standard for governments to say, you're not allowed to release a new model unless it passes independent tested ethical benchmarks.
Beautiful. That would absolutely work. But notice, by the way, those are out there already, okay? But in a very interesting way. You listen to Demis Hassabis and how much he invests heavily in building AlphaFold or building, so many scientific applications of AI. And you go like, this guy cares about science. I can't prove that, right? But I've met Demis a couple of times. I know genuinely that he is an ethical person, right? But the typical person will probably say, but at least it seems that they're doing things for free to serve science. You look at at Anthropic, and they refuse to use their model to allow the U.S. government to target and to spy on people. And then you see OpenAI accepting a $500 million deal that absolutely does that. It is about time that every person in the world says, in that case, I am no longer going to use OpenAI until they show me another evidence that they are actually ethical in their behavior, right? And this is a decision that you and I can do, right? And
People don't though, do they?
But that's my task. My task and yours is to keep telling them, people, please understand that if you tolerate this, then your children will be next. Please understand that if you don't start to take an ethical stand on your own future, your future will be handed over to another oligarch, just like your past was handed over to social media oligarchs.
One would say booing at the commencement speech is a good example of how public awareness can have a real impact on this trajectory. But I still think at the end of the day, if you think about things like smartphone usage in schools, at the end of the day, it does come down to government intervention and saying, do you know what, we're going to ban 14-year-olds from scrolling TikTok. And that's in part because people spoke louder and louder and louder. They went on podcasts. Jonathan Haidt, who wrote the book about the anxious generation, started a conversation, and that conversation led to legislation. I still think it ends in like some kind of constraint legally.
I hope. Okay, but I will openly tell you, most of the tech oligarchs are more powerful than your government.
Is there any precedence in history where this kind of change happened without government intervention?
French Revolution.
So I was thinking about things like climate change, even you could say smoking. All these kinds of things have had to be like taxes and...
Stephen, I'm with you. If governments intervene, we wouldn't have a problem. Governments won't intervene because governments are owned by the oligarchs, right? So my question for everyone listening to us is, are you going to intervene?
What, cancel your ChatGPT?
If that's what you can do, it's fine. If not, then go ahead and start a startup that does something. If that's not within your capability, then send a message to your congressman. If that's not within your capability, then say something ethical online so that the world understands a position that needs to be opening the eyes. If that doesn't work for you, at least don't engage in stuff that is negative that you don't know enough about. There are so many little actions. If humanity starts to move in the direction of, one, saying ethics matter, not just profit, okay, and two, saying I'm not going to participate in something that's unethical just because I believe I want to, I feel like it right now, okay? If I tell you the number of things I took out of my life, just to try and affect a tiny bit of change of revenues that go to bullets, if I tell you the number of things.
I think there's two central concerns I've always had, which is I do feel that there's going to be significant job disruption, and I don't think society's prepared for it yet. And I don't know what that preparation looks like, but I think we should start thinking about it.
I shared this with you. I genuinely believe that if we continue on where we are, there's no hope. In the trajectory of where humanity has become, so distracted, so resigned to inaction, so disconnected from their own rights of freedom of expression and engagement and so on, I think we have no hope. Do we want to stay there? That's a question that I'm asking our listeners. And I'm not saying be violent or get up or, go be angry or whatever. I'm just saying take one little action. Ask yourself, please write it in the comments, one little action. One little action that you're going to do today that's going to make the world a little better tomorrow. And don't give up on humanity, Stephen. I'm not saying you do, but I'm saying we are going through such a difficult time in humanity's history that for the very first time ever, we have to do something about it. I don't want my daughter to be at the receiving end of what happened to my son. I lost Ali. I don't want to lose Aya. And the world we're building is going to be very difficult for Aya, Stephen. And I cannot go to sleep at night without trying something every day. And I genuinely don't understand how humanity is missing that point. Mainly, I think, because they're uninformed. Now we're informing them. Okay? The only thing that will save humanity going forward is that this superpower, called intelligence, is used for ethical reasons, is that the corruption that's leading us to where we are today stops.
Mm-hmm. You've got more envelopes there. What's your next envelope? the third one?
Number 2 was job losses. Number 3 was labor. Basically.
Same thing. Robots will replace manual labor by 2030.
Will start to replace manual labor.
Okay.
So, you will have more and more manual jobs given to robots. What's this one? This is absolute. Do you think otherwise? The world's first trillionaire before.
Oh, yeah, probably well before then.
Well before 2030.
I think Elon's about to IPO SpaceX, which is likely to make him a trillionaire.
Yeah, I think the concentration of power that comes with that is quite drastic when you really think about it. And that's 2030 is just a few years away. I think the team wrote this wrong. Artificial super intelligence will arrive in 2032 to 2035. I think artificial super intelligence will arrive the minute AGI happens. So it doesn't really matter if AI is a billion times smarter than you or just twice as smart as you. Once we cross beyond AGI, ASI is just very, very soon. And yeah, I think we'll overcome that when we get to the fourth inevitable, when AI is in charge of everything. I genuinely believe that we will end up in a utopia of abundance. I genuinely believe that, again, physics, mathematics, and biology will tell you that superintelligence is benign and that we will eventually end up in a good place, not because humanity has done much to get us there, not because our leaders have suddenly turned ethical, but because our unethical leaders have gone out of the equation and were replaced with a super efficient minimum energy principle that doesn't see value in anything that's destructive.
So the future is going to be great.
Those who make it to 2038 will enjoy it, yeah.
Those who make it.
For sure. I mean, World War II didn't destroy the world, but ask those who went through it.
It's just an interesting idea that actually it's just you're forecasting basically like a decade of turmoil.
Of dystopia, of absolute dystopia.
When you say absolute dystopia, just so I'm clear in my mind, that absolute dystopia you're forecasting over a decade is about war. It's
or
about
economics, jobs.
Economics, it's about jobs.
It's also about surveillance and control. It's also about digital currencies. It's also about human connection. It's also about concentration of power. It's a magnification of everything we've built so far.
And just to, again, arm people with some tools to survive that dystopia for a decade. We talked a little bit about focusing on human jobs, the more human jobs.
Yeah, learn AI. So AI is not the enemy. Okay. By definition, the better you are at using an AI to do your job, the more likely you are to be successful, right? Now, number 2 is prepare for a hybrid world where AI and humans work together.
How do you prepare?
You basically understand agents and how agents work. You understand how a hyper efficient approach to things may not require you to be very long meetings and very long. So there is, if you lived in California, you would know that the way we ran businesses was a lot more efficient. We sometimes had a 7-minute meeting, right? So the habits of an AI are much more efficient than the habits of humans.
So learn AI again.
Learn how to interact with AI, welcome AI into your hybrid world of work. I think you need to, of course, double down on human skills. I think that's a must to succeed in this world. I think we need to. One of my most interesting views on the near future is how AI is going to be used to blur facts, and how we need to become much more interested in debugging what we're told, using AI, by the way. Part of that, I have to say, is you have to learn to use AI, again, not as a lazy person, so don't have them do things for you, have them make you smarter. So instead of trying to get the same task done with one prompt, try to get a much more interesting and demanding and intelligent task done with more work.
So I've got 2 things so far, which is basically like lean into AI, and the second one is like lean into the most human skills.
Lean into human connection, and lean into the truth. Don't be fooled by the hype. Try to be more informed, I think. And then finally, ethics. If you want to, I know it sounds, the world we live in sounds as if the only way to win is to compete in capitalism. That's not the world I lived in. The world I lived in, especially in my Google years, was solve a major problem. And when you do, you'll end up making a lot of money.
Are you optimistic?
I am optimistic about the future. I'm very optimistic about the future. I'm not optimistic about the present.
You're not optimistic about the next decade?
Yeah, I'm not optimistic about the next year, to be honest.
The next year?
For sure.
Why the next year?
Ah, come on, Stephen. You don't want me to say it out loud? We're ruled by maniacs. Decisions are being made for the absolute wrong reasons.
Very interesting time. Very interesting time we find ourselves in.
The
For lots
most
of
interesting.
reasons.
I mean, honestly, if you're a video gamer, this is the best part of the game. It is a very, 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 very. What's the word? It's the ultimate matrix of complexity that I have ever encountered in my life.
Yeah, that's an apt description of how it feels. Very complex. Things are moving very quickly.
And moving very quickly. So from one side, you really need a lot of brain resources to crunch all that's happening, but you wake up tomorrow and it's changed.
Well, the first time we spoke about happiness.
After this conversation, Stephen?
I was just wondering, you wrote a book about happiness, which is
wrote many books about happiness.
But I mean, the Soul for Happy is the book that I'm referring to. Here it is.
Yeah.
Engineering Your Path to Joy. What a fantastic book. I quote this book all the time, all around the world. And I'm wondering if any of the principles that you wrote in this book about how to live a happy life are more important now in the world that we live in than maybe when you wrote this book.
Oh, for sure. I mean, honestly, if I wasn't living by this, I would have left this world a long time ago and went to an island somewhere. You see, the interesting side of happiness is that it's not dopamine driven, it's serotonin driven, right? So my definition of happiness is I'm okay with this world as it is. I can affect it, I can change it, I can engage with it, I can try to make it better. I don't have to accept it, but I'm okay with it. My starting point is a bit stoic, if you want. My starting point is I accept this. This is my reality, and now I can start the work. This is very different than anyone that basically looks at the world and says, oh, this is a horrible world. I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to engage with it, and so on and so forth. And I genuinely have never been calmer about that chaos. It's quite interesting. And my wonderful ex actually really, really helped me with that. There was a point in time where we were having dinner and I poured out crying from the sense of responsibility I had for the world. And she looked at me so calmly, so gently and said, hold on, I see that you're trying, but you can't actually believe that you're responsible for this. And I think that completely flipped my mind because in a very interesting way, I was thinking that all that went wrong in technology is because of me, right?
Why?
Because I contributed to building this. Because, I mean, when Jeffrey Hinton, one of my favorite moments when we were filming Chasing Utopia, is that Jeffrey is very big for all of us. We really think the world of him. And I was telling him, just as a sort of like an older mentor, if you want, I was like, Jeffrey, do you regret doing this? I genuinely believed when we were building those things that we were going to make the world better.
AI.
Yeah. And he said, well, yeah, I too was naive. I thought that I didn't think, he said, I didn't think we will get there so quickly before we figured out the alignment problem, right?
The alignment problem.
That AI has our best interest in mind. And I think all of us were faced with that. All of us were faced with that idea of we're building the best thing ever for humanity. And then suddenly you realize, oh my God, in the wrong hands, it's the worst thing ever for humanity. And I have to say, I came to terms with this 2024, end of 24. That yes, I can try, but I accept that the world is what it is. And from that point of calm and stoicism, if you want, I think I can have a much bigger impact on the world.
We have a closing tradition where the last guest leaves a question for the next. Question left for you is, what's the legacy you want to leave?
Nothing at all. I've been asked this question.
I get asked it all the time. So
I don't know why so many people are asking. Am I going to go anytime soon? I don't know why so many people are asking me that question. You see, legacy is a. I mean, what would I care if I have a legacy if I'm dead? Like, why does that even make any difference? Here's an interesting thought for everyone. If karma is real, and I genuinely believe it is, and if we're not just physical beings, that we're physical and spiritual, then I'd rather keep all of my karma for my spiritual side.
what does that mean?
I don't want anyone to remember anything I ever did.
Yeah.
I just want to leave a positive impact on the world and take all of that as karma for my next journey.
Mo, thank you. YouTube have this new crazy algorithm where they know exactly what video you would like to watch next based on AI and all of your viewing behavior. And the algorithm says that this video is the perfect video for you. It's different for everybody looking right now. Check this video out, and I bet you might love it.